We're about 25% of the way through the NBA season, and there are a ton of players that are currently breaking out right now and having the best years of their career, and I want to talk about them. And I have 20 names that I'm going to bring up and talk about. This isn't everybody in the NBA that is having their best year or breaking out, so if I left somebody off this list in this video, please let me know down below, or maybe there's somebody that I'm going to mention in this video and you disagree with me and you think they are not breaking out. So a lot of people wanted to talk about Bronny James going to this year, and I'm not talking about Bronny. I want to actually talk about a different son of a Hall of Famer, and that is going to be Scottie Pippen Jr. Scottie Pippen was on the Lakers in 2023, and Darvin Ham and the Lakers front office did not see anything in the former Bulls legend's son. Well, Scottie Pippen Jr. has spent the last 2 years in Memphis, and he's developed into one of the better rotational point guards and backup point guards in the NBA. Last year, he got to see a great opportunity and play 21 games because the Memphis Grizzlies were like the most cursed team in the NBA last year when it came to injuries. So last year, Pippen had 21 games played. He shot 49% from the field, 41% from three, and averaged 13 points and 4.5 assists. Well, this year, Pippen is actually playing the same amount of minutes per game because John Moran has missed some time and some other Memphis Grizzlies. And Scottie Pippen Jr. is averaging 12 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds a night on good efficiency, 48% from the field, 39% from three, 76% from the line. He's averaging over a steal a night as well. And he's a good backup point guard in this league. And I think he's breaking out onto the scene. And we got to know about Scottie Pippen Jr. now. The next player we're going to talk about is in all defensive first team conversations already. He's going into year number 3, and that is Tari Eason of the Houston Rockets. Tari Eason has been so much fun to watch this year on the defensive side of the floor. We'll get into his partner in crime a little bit later in this video, but Eason is breaking out in year number 3. Last year, he was banged up. He had a season-ending injury. And this year, now that he's fully healthy, has been one of the best defenders in the NBA. What Eason is doing offensively is also really positive as well. He's averaging 12 points, which is a career high, 6.5 rebounds, over assists tonight. He's shooting 50% from the field, 34% from three, 76% from the line, and he's averaging 2.2 steals, 1.1 blocks. The Rockets defense skyrockets when he's on the floor, especially with Dillon Brooks out there at the same time. And he can guard multiple positions. He's a fantastic transition defender. He's a good post defender. He could switch whenever you ask him to. And Tari Eason needs to be talked about more, I feel like, in the national casual audience, because he has been a joy to watch this year for the Houston Rockets. And if you take into account defense, maybe as much as you do offensively, there's an argument out there that he could be the best Rocket this season. We're going to stay on the topic of defense. We got to talk about the great barrier thief, Dyson Daniels of the Atlanta Hawks, who's currently leading the NBA in steals. It's crazy. He was averaging almost 4 steals a night throughout his first 10 games, and that was never going to be sustainable, but he's still leading the league in steals in the moment I'm recording this. He's also averaging 14.5 points. He averaged 5.8 points last year, which was a career high. We're obviously seeing an increase in opportunity since the DeJounte Murray trade. He played 22 minutes per game last year for the Pelicans, now 34 minutes per game for the Hawks. He's shooting 45% from the field. You'd like for the three-point shot to be a little bit better. It's currently at 29%, but he's a solid playmaker. He could pass well. He's a good rebounder. And like I said before, he's a fantastic defender on the perimeter. And this is exactly what Atlanta needs in the backcourt next to Trae Young. It's not what DeJounte Murray did for Atlanta the last 2 years. They don't need to replicate Trae Young's skills. They need to complement it. And that's what Dyson Daniels is currently doing for the Atlanta Hawks. The Indiana Pacers have definitely not been exceeding expectations to start off this season. Tyrese Haliburton has had his own problems, but Benedict Mathurin in the same draft class as Tari Eason and Dyson Daniels has been great this year. Mathurin's season last year got cut short, so we didn't see him on the national stage in the playoffs when the Pacers made it to the conference finals, but this year he's been a very dynamic scorer for the Indiana Pacers. He got off to a really good start. He's averaging 18 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists tonight. He's shooting 49% from the field, 40% from three, and 84% from the line. Now, he hasn't been great over his last 5 games. He's struggling to get the shots he wants, and I think defenses are focused in more on Benedict Mathurin and what he could do offensively in the half court, but I am seeing the progression from Mathurin into year number 3. That's going to be a reoccurring trend of players we're going to talk about in this video, and I think he's been fun to watch offensively. I really like watching him in transition. I think he runs the floor really well next to Haliburton. Next up, we're going to talk about my most improved pick, and that is going to be Christian Braun of the Denver Nuggets. He is fitting into that KCP role greatly, and I was wrong. I thought it was going to be Julian Strawther that was going to jump onto the scene for Denver, but it's Christian Braun. He's got a little bit more experience than Strawther. Obviously, he played notable minutes for the 2023 finals team, and last year he averaged 7 points per game. This year, 16 points a night, and the efficiency has actually gone up. 46% from the field last year to 57% from the field this year, and he's doubling his shots, 38% from three last year, 46% from three this year, 69% from the line last year, 79% from the line this year, 4.8 rebounds, over a steal a night. Braun has been a good two-way player, and he's been one of the more efficient third or fourth scoring options in the league this season. And I think there's an argument, too. He's been better than Jamal Murray, Norman Powell of the LA Clippers. He's currently nursing a hamstring injury right now, but Norman Powell is averaging career highs across the board in his 10th year in the NBA. He's averaging 23 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists, shooting 49% from the field, 48% from three throughout his first 15 games, as well as 81% from the line. And it's cool to see his volume go up, but as well as his efficiency. Usually you'll see an increase in volume, but a drop off in efficiency, but not for Norman Powell this year. He's been efficient. There's been some bad games, and you're like, is he dipping down to the Norman Powell of the past? But he's really proving the Clippers front office right, that they made the correct decision, letting Paul George walk in free agency, parlay that money into Derrick Jones Jr. and Chris Dunn, two fantastic defenders, and then allow more opportunities for guys like Norman Powell, as well as like Amir Coffey, Ivica Zubac, Jordan Miller at times, and I've been enjoying watching Norman Powell on offense this year. I'll talk about somebody from the 2021 draft class, and that is going to be Evan Mobley, currently on the best team in the NBA record-wise, and Mobley, I think, is taking another step this year from what he was last year on both ends of the floor. I think he's parlaying what he did in 2022 as a defender, and then what he did against Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals offensively this year. He's averaging a career high in points with 17.5 a night. He's averaging a block and a half a night, a steal, 2.5 assists, 9 rebounds. I think he's a great rim protector, shooting 56% from the field, 36% from three, a career high 84% from the line, and has been helping out the Cavs a ton this year. They're a top 10 defense because of what Evan Mobley is doing as a rim protector. They're the best offense in the NBA as well, and Mobley has been a great third option. He's not going to be the only Cav we're going to mention, though. I've enjoyed watching Bilal Coulibaly a ton this year for the Washington Wizards. It's still a terrible environment. They're on a double-digit losing streak at the moment I'm recording this video, but he is playing so much better from his rookie season, which I think a lot of people thought he exceeded expectations in his rookie year. He was going to be one of the most raw prospects going into that 2023 draft. The Wizards took a chance on him in the top 10. He was not projected to be a lottery pick whatsoever most of the pre-draft process until close to draft day. He exceeded expectations, like I said, his rookie season, and this year is taking another step. 14 points, 6 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 52% from the field, 35% from three, 76% from the line, over a steal a night. I like what I've been seeing from Bilal on the defensive side of the floor. And I think it's just even more impressive that he's breaking out in year number 2 with not the greatest roster around him. It's a lot of rookies, inexperienced guys, or guys that like to shoot the ball like Kyle Kuzma or Jordan Poole. So I think Bilal's taking all the right steps this year. And if you're a Wizards fan, you got to be really excited because he's still just 20 years old. Former Cav we're going to talk about that was in the 2022 draft class, that was traded to Utah in the Donovan Mitchell trade, but now is on the Toronto Raptors and is having a breakout season. And that is Ochai Agbaji of the Toronto Raptors. And it's really cool to see Agbaji play well this year because I thought his career was starting to be over before it started, since he didn't really work out in Utah and he had a really good opportunity. But this year, he's looking so different than what he did last year in Toronto in that 27-game sample size. Last year, he averaged 6.5 points across 27 games, shot 39% from the field and 21% from three. This year for the Raptors, he's playing so much more, 31 minutes a night, because the Raptors have had a plethora of injuries, and Agbaji is really taking advantage of his increase in opportunity, shooting 51% from the field, 42% from 3 on 4 threes a night. I think he's playing good defense out there, 2 assists, 4.5 rebounds. And maybe he isn't the perfect player in the world, but I think the Raptors are figuring out that they have a really good rotational piece on their roster. And I don't think he's going to be an elite offensive player or defensive player one day, but if he could just be good on both ends of the floor, that is a really productive rotational piece that the Raptors basically got for cheap at last year's deadline. Second Houston Rocket, we're going to talk about one of my favorite players to watch in this league, and that is Amen Thompson. When him and Tari Eason are out there and we're watching the Terror Twins on the defensive side of the floor, I'm tuned in. Through 18 games this year, Amen Thompson is averaging 11 points and 7 rebounds in just 25 minutes a night. He's coming off the bench. He's only started 1 game this year. He's averaging around a block and steal a night, over 2 assists, and shooting 55% from the field. Once Amen Thompson learns how to be a consistent 3-point shooter in this league, it may be over. He may be one of the best young players in the NBA because we're still trying to figure out what he is on the floor. It looks like he's more of a wing than a true point guard that we thought he was going to be coming out of the overtime elite, because Amen Thompson is already a top 20 perimeter defender in the NBA already, and you can even go higher than that, and he's still just 21 years old, and I can't wait to see him actually play consistently above 30 minutes a night, because he also might be the fastest player in the NBA. Who would have thought we would be seeing this season from Ty Jerome? He's been one of the best stories in this NBA season. I know the Cavs have been a great story. They got off to one of the best starts we have seen in quite some time. Kenny Atkinson looks like he's the early front runner for Coach of the Year, but Ty Jerome, someone that's probably top 5 in 6 Man of the Year voting, top 5 in Most Improved Player voting, has been so much fun to watch as the backup to Darius Garland this season. Throughout 18 games, he's averaging 12.5 points, 4 assists, 2 rebounds, shooting 59% from the field and 54% from 3, leading the NBA on 3 attempts a night coming off the bench. He's an elite free throw shooter, and when he started this year, he has balled out because he does have 2 starts, and in those 2 games, he has scored 24 points on 60% shooting and 29 points on 52% shooting, and that included going 7 of 12 from 3. He could slow down this offense, and he could just command the second unit, and just having a good point guard that comes off the bench for your star point guard in Darius Garland can take so much stress off your back when you can have all this trust and faith in Ty Jerome to not lose a lead or not let your team go down by a ton when your starters are out. For pretty much the first time in his career, Franz Wagner is a true #1 option right now because Paolo Banchero is currently injured, and Franz is taking advantage of that role. He has been great since Paolo got injured. Franz's numbers right now are up to career highs. He's averaging 23 points a career high. He's averaging 1.8 steals a career high, 5.5 assists, 5.5 rebounds, both career highs as well. And he's shooting 47% from the field, but 35% from 3, and that is something to note on 6 attempts a night because last year, everybody was concerned about Franz's shot. He shot 28% from 3 on 4.5 attempts a night. Well, he's taking about a 3.5 more per game and is shooting 7% better. He's a great free throw shooter. And if you look at Franz's last 12 games, a decent sample size, he's averaging 27, 6, and 5 and shooting 47% and 35% from 3. And Franz Wagner should be an all-star 100% this year for the first time in his career. This next guy won't be an all-star, but there's a chance he's going to win a major award, and that's going to be 6th Man of the Year candidate Payton Pritchard. Pritchard is 26 years old, and he's having one of the best years of his career. It's funny because Pritchard requested trades multiple times from the Boston Celtics, and they're like, we're never going to trade you because we have so much faith in you. They traded Marcus Smart, they traded Malcolm Brogdon, all before they traded away Payton Pritchard. And this year, he is showing why the Celtics made the right decision. He's having the best year of his career as a 26-year-old, as he's coming off the bench in all 18 games so far, averaging 15 points, 3 assists, 1 steal, but he's shooting 47% from the field on a career high in shots at 10 a night and 42% from 3 on a career high in 3-point attempts, 8 a night. He's a good free throw shooter, a good ball handler, and we know he's one of the best half-court shooters at the end of a quarter. And Payton Pritchard is going to be a main reason why the Celtics are going to be favorites once again to win the NBA Finals. The next player we're going to talk about might make an All-NBA team, might make the All-Star game, may even be on an All-Defensive team because he's had to play some center this year at 6'6" for the best defensive team in the NBA, as well as for the 1 seed in the Western Conference, and that is Jalen Williams of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, I don't think J-Dub should win Most Improved because I think a lot of us expected him to improve like this season, but he's breaking out to being a top 20 player in the NBA this year if you take into account what he's doing on both ends of the floor. He's super efficient offensively. He's averaging a career high in points, 22 a night, 5 assists, 6.5 rebounds, shooting 52% from the field, 39% from 3 and 83% from the line. I love his playmaking. I just love watching J-Dub in the half court because he makes easy shots look so effortless. And I love what I've been seeing from him on the defensive end of the floor as well because he's really stepping in with all these injuries in the front court to the Thunder this year. He's been showing why he's such a versatile defender in this league. This year, he's played 5% of his minutes at small forward, 66% of his minutes at power forward, and 30% of his minutes at the center spot for the #1 defense in the NBA. If that isn't breaking out this year, I don't know what is. Another Jalen we're going to talk about is going to be Jalen Johnson of the Atlanta Hawks, who got up to somewhat of a slow start throughout his first couple of games, but he's been great over his last 15. He's up to about 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists on the year. Those are really good counting numbers. He's shooting 48% from the field. The 3-point shot is down a little bit from last year, about a percentage and a half down, but he's taking 4.7 threes compared to 3.6 threes last year. He's getting to the line more, and I think Jalen Johnson has improved a ton as a defender this year on the perimeter and the post and transition, and that's what Atlanta needs to do. I already talked about Dyson Daniels' improvement for himself this year and what his defense means for the Atlanta Hawks, and that's also the same thing with Jalen Johnson because having these good perimeter defenders, switchable defenders, and off-ball defenders that can help out Trae Young, who still isn't a great defender in this league, that is going to be huge for the Atlanta Hawks' future. I know the advanced numbers may not love him, but I think he should be an all-star consideration because the Pistons have been fun this year, and Cade Cunningham is the reason why. Now, they're getting good play out of some other guys. I think JB Bickerstaff has done a good job with this defense. Cade this year, though, 23.5 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists a night. That is a career high for Cade. He's shooting 36% from 3 on 6 threes a night, 44% from the field, 80% from the line, averaging around a steal and block a night. Now, his true shooting percentage isn't great at 53%. League average is around 57%. He does turn the ball over a ton, but he's asked to do so much. He's at a career high in usage rate, 31.5%, which is one of the highest in the Eastern Conference. And especially for a young guard like Cade, that's a lot of burden on his shoulders right now. But the fact that the Pistons are as competitive as they are with Cade Cunningham being the #1 and also showing signs of improvement on the defensive end of the floor, I think Cade is showing a lot of people and the Detroit Pistons why they selected him #1 overall in that 2021 draft. We are not done talking about Cleveland Cavaliers. I want to talk about Darius Garland, just because Garland was a prime bounce back candidate after he was banged up on so many accounts last year, had multiple injuries, and this year, now that Garland is healthy, is breaking out to being one of the most efficient guards in the NBA. Before he had a stinker against the Boston Celtics, he was the only player to have 50, 40, 90 splits this year, and he's still close to that. Garland this year is averaging 20 points, 2.5 rebounds, and 7 assists. He's shooting 49% from the field, 44% from 3, and 93% from the line. He's 1 percentage away with his field goal percentage to be a 50, 40, 90 guy right now. And he's a good fourth quarter scorer. I think Darius Garland is just breaking out to being one of the more reliable, efficient guards in this league. And that is just a great sign for Cleveland, because we talked about Evan Mobley's development on both ends of the floor. Ty Jerome as Garland's backup, and now Darius Garland just being an efficient 3-level scorer. That's what you want to see for the Cavs, because they may be the best shot at beating Boston in the Eastern Conference this season. Now, this guy is not as efficient as Darius Garland, but like Cade Cunningham, is asked to do so much because this team around him really isn't the best, and that's LaMelo Ball of the Charlotte Hornets. LaMelo Ball has been one of the more entertaining players to watch this year, especially in the fourth quarter. And I know he takes some bad shots sometimes, but outside of Brandon Miller and Trey Mann, nobody else is really stepping up on this team this season. And Trey Mann's been hurt, Brandon Miller's been hurt, Grant Williams is out for the year. It feels like everybody's either hurt or bad on this Hornets team right now, and LaMelo's been asked to do so much. And his numbers over his last 10 games are insane. 33.5 points, 8 assists, 5.5 rebounds. The efficiency isn't going to be the greatest, and I know he's going to turn the ball over a decent amount, but LaMelo Ball is still extremely young in this league, 23 years old, and he's asked to have so much weight on his shoulders carrying this team right now, and is actually making them somewhat competitive throughout the season. Without LaMelo Ball, the Hornets would be by far the worst team in the NBA, but LaMelo is making them exciting, and I'm just glad to see LaMelo healthy this year, and he's someone that's averaging 31 points per game, which is insane. And the last two spots, I want to talk about rookies this season, because I think they're breaking out in year #1. I know it's not a traditional breakout, but nobody expected these non-lottery picks to be this good. First guy we're going to talk about is Jared McCain of the Philadelphia 76ers, who is mine and the consensus favorite for rookie of the year right now. Jared McCain, 20 years old. I loved watching him at Duke because he had the feel for big time moments. He could hit big time shots, and has been carrying this Sixers team this year with all these injuries, with all these distractions. He's been a silver lining for this team. McCain, as a 6'3" rookie, has been insanely efficient. 46% from the field, 40% from 3. He's averaging 16.5 points on the season, but he barely played to start the year. And since November 8th, where he started playing 30 minutes a night, he's averaging 24 points and shooting 46% from the field, 42% from 3 on 10 3-point attempts, and 92% from the line. McCain does a good job getting to the free throw line. Also added in 4 assists. He's got a great pull-up jumper, a great catch and shoot jumper. He's very entertaining to watch in transition. I think he's getting better as a defender from what I saw at Duke last year. I think he's breaking out as a rookie. And the player we're going to talk about last is someone that went right after Jared McCain in the 2024 draft, Dalton Knecht. Now, Knecht's a little bit older than Jared McCain at 23 years old, but I'm glad to see him making this much of an immediate impact already in this league. And I was very high on Knecht going into this year. I placed a bet on him to win Rookie of the Year, and he was not even in the top 7 in highest odds to do so. So I put my money where my mouth is, and he is showing me that I may be right, averaging 11.5 points, 51% from the field, 45% from 3, and 93% from the line. Him and McCain have just been elite 3-point shooters this season, and that's what we saw from Knecht last year at Tennessee, when he was arguably the best pure scorer in the country. And like McCain, Knecht's playing time was inconsistent to start off the year, but over his last 6 games, he's averaging 20.5 points, 4 rebounds, and shooting 61% from the field and 60% from 3 on 7 3-point attempts. That is insane. And this looks like a great pick from the Lakers, and they learned their lesson by passing up on some NBA level talent like Jaime Jaquez or Brandon Podziemski or Cam Whitmore in that 2023 draft when they took Jalen Hood-Schifino. They didn't make the same mistake this time around. So that is gonna be it for me. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Those are 20 players that I think are breaking out this season. Let me know who I didn't talk about that you think is breaking out down below. And if you guys did enjoy, I would appreciate you dropping a thumbs up, subscribe for this content all year long, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.